In this video, we are going to be answering these questions. How should you castle in chess? Why should you castle in chess? And what are the benefits of castling in chess? Please make sure you watch the previous videos on chess before this one, because you'll learn many more concepts in chess which will turn you from zero to hero. I will leave the link of those chess videos in the description below. Now onto the chess video. Today we're going to be learning a concept called castling that is going to make your king even more safer than it currently is. White's king does look really safe, but it's not the safest it can potentially be. Now Black's king might look wide open. There are so many diagonals to attack the Black king. But if you just move, if you move your queen to check the Black king, Black can do CPR. In fact, in every way but capture. Black can block with the knight, Black can block with the bishop, Black can block with the queen, and Black can run away. So let's see one of those examples. And you don't want to take because the pawn is guarding the knight, and now you're going to lose your queen. Let's go back. So castling is when your king moves 2 moves, 1, 2, and the rook slides over next to the king, like this. Now, there are some rules of castling. The rule is that your king or the rook that you want to castle with cannot have moved. For example, if I move my king and Black moves their king, I can no longer castle or move 2 moves, or move 2 squares at a time. I can only go once. Let's go back. And also if I move my rook, let's say to this square, and Black puts the bishop on f5, I can no longer castle because the rook has moved. Another rule is that there has to be a clear line between the rook and the king. If I wanted to castle this way, or short side, or kingside as it is commonly known, I would have to move the bishop, the light squared bishop, and the knight on g1 before I could castle. You can castle 2 ways. You can castle queenside, which is when where you have to move not only the knight and the bishop, but also the queen. But your king moves like that. So there's an extra space here. So there are 2 spaces to move to, and the rook is sort of guarding the back rank. You can also castle kingside, which is the short way because there's only 2 squares between the king and the rook, while queenside there's 3. The extra one because the queen's meant to go there. 1, 2, 3. Now, another rule that you should know is that you can only castle with the king and the rook. It wouldn't make sense if you castled with a knight, a bishop, or a queen, or a pawn. It wouldn't make sense. You can only castle with the king and the rook. You can't have a knight on a1 or h1 and castle like that. It won't work. So let's see queenside castling in action. As you can see, the king moves 2 squares and the rook moves right next to it. Now, let's try that with Black, except this time it's not going to be queenside because Black has to move the queen, the light squared bishop, and the knight before they can castle queenside. But But can they castle kingside? Pause your videos and figure it out. Okay, if you're back, the answer is yes. I made a little tick mark there with arrows. Black king can castle this way because there is no pieces in between. Oops, there are no pieces in between the king and the rook. The king hasn't moved yet, and the rook hasn't moved yet. Remember, the 8th A8 and H8 or A1 and H1 are the starting squares for the rook, the corners of the board. And the black king starts on E8 and the white king starts on E1. So, I can castle kingside and it will look like that. Very similar, except there's one space the king can move to instead of 2. So, now that you've learnt castling, all you have to do is practice to master it. Write down your top learning in the comment box below. I'll see you on the next lesson. Bye!